So today we're going to make some mushroom ravioli with a cream and mushroom sauce. So just to run through some of the ingredients today that I'm going to use, we've got some chopped portobello mushrooms. You can use absolutely any mushrooms, to be honest with you. I've just chopped them with my knife, but if you want to, you can just use a food blender. Just blitz them down little by little. We've got some butter that I'm going to use to fry the onions off, some shallots, some fresh thyme, some fresh garlic just chopped, some parsley, a little bit of fresh nutmeg and some mozzarella, and last we've also got a little bit of fresh Parmesan cheese. I recommend that you make your pasta dough first, simply because you need to give it time to rest. It's going to take about half an hour in cling film, so no air gets to it, to rest. So whilst that's resting in the fridge, let's make our mushroom filling. Put the pan on a low to medium heat. I'm going to add the butter to the pan and start melting the butter down. Once that's melted, I can start first of all by adding my finely diced shallots. Just going to put those in there, turn the heat up slightly, and I'm looking at frying them just over medium to high heat for about just a couple of minutes, 2 minutes. All I want to do, I just want to make them a little bit more soft, a little bit tender. So now the shallots are soft and tender, I'm going to add the garlic. Not going to cook the garlic out for as long, just about 2 minutes, probably about a minute in fact. Then I'm also going to add the fresh thyme to that as well, and just literally just cook that to start bringing the flavours out. But of course I don't want to burn the garlic on there. Okay, now I'm going to add the fresh diced mushrooms. These are portobello mushrooms, so add them to the pan. See, first of all, I can hear the sizzle from that. I can hear it sizzling. That's the sort of sound I'm looking for when we actually finish cooking the mushrooms. So you'll see very, very shortly that mushrooms are full of water. I think there's about 80% of water in mushrooms. So as I start frying these down, you'll start to get a lot of water, more migration come out of the mushrooms. So I'll just fry them gently, again over a medium to high heat, making sure they don't burn. The smell coming off there is absolutely beautiful. The smell of garlic, the mushroom flavour is lovely. As you can see now, if you can see the pan now, the water's starting to come out of the mushrooms, and it'll start to look quite wet. It's a bit like a mushroom sauce, to be honest with you. But after you keep frying that off, keep frying it off over a medium to high heat, the water will evaporate, and you'll start hearing the mushrooms fry again in the butter. Just going to add a little bit of seasoning to that, so a bit of cracked black pepper, a little bit of salt. To boost the flavour of the mushrooms, I'm going to use the mushroom concentrate from the chef range. It's a beautiful, beautiful product. Small amount in there. You can use it for dressings, for marinades, for sauces, of course for stocks, but that's going to really, really, really enhance the flavour of the mushrooms. So if you can hear that now as well, you can hear those mushrooms, they're starting to fry again. The water has all come out of the mushrooms and they're now starting to fry. Another 30 seconds or so, then that will be ready. All I'll do then is put them back into the bowl and then just chill them down for about 20 minutes, just so the mushrooms have gone cold. So that's what I'm looking for. The mushrooms have completely dried out now. All the moisture has gone from mushrooms. and literally just put those into a bowl to dry out. So I'm just going to put them into the fridge now. Take about 15 minutes or so to cool them down. As soon as they're cool, I'm going to start adding the rest of the ingredients for the mushroom filling. So now the mushrooms have been chilled. To that I'm going to add some nutmeg. Nutmeg goes fantastic with mushrooms. You only need a really small amount. Of course you can use shop-bought ground nutmeg. Chopped parsley. Grated Parmesan cheese, finely grated, and some fresh mozzarella. So just a case of working that through now until that forms a paste. Just take a few minutes. I can smell the fresh nutmeg in there. I can smell the herbs, the mushrooms. It smells absolutely beautiful. So that's all mixed in there now, just how I want it. That is ready to be put into my fresh pasta to make now my mushroom ravioli. So now you have made your mushroom mix, your mushroom filling, and you have made your pasta. You've also rested your pasta and you rolled the pasta to the right thickness. It's time to make your ravioli. So this is a good bit. So first of all, we are just going to use a teaspoon. Just have 1 heaped teaspoonful. Literally, just pop that down the middle. And the same again, a heaped teaspoonful, and looking for about a 2-finger gap between each one. So something like that would be ideal. Some people can pipe this out with different types of fillings, different types of mousses, but obviously with this one, I think it's absolutely fine just to use a teaspoon. Of course, try not to make them too big because they all won't cook at the same sort of time. You all want them roughly about the same sort of size, shape. Maybe get one more out of that. We'll see. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to use a pasta wheel to just trim some of the sides off. Okay, so first off I'm going to start by doing this one here. If you want to, if you've not got one of these, you could use a knife. You know, doesn't matter. Those bits there. Now, I personally like to use egg to bind my pasta together. Some people use water, some people use egg. If you do use egg, you only want a small, tiny little bit on your pastry brush. You don't want too much at all. So I'm just going to brush a thin layer of egg over one side. And you can see I'm not putting too much egg on there whatsoever. Okay, now it's time to shape the pasta. I'll just lift that up, make sure there's not sticking. Fold it over, make sure you go right to the very, very, very edge. So it's not overlapping too much. We are going to cook that as well, to be honest with you. Don't worry if they're not all absolutely perfect when you shape these, because it's fresh pasta. I want it to look natural, to be honest with you. So now I'm going to use my hands, a bit like that, to be honest with you, just trying to get as much air as I can out of them. each ravioli piece. Just press down with thumb to make sure that all of that egg wash sticks down to the side that you just egg washed. And last thing is just to lift that up to make sure it's not stuck down to the bottom. Okay, now that is ready to be cut. So again, you could use a knife. If you've got a wheel like I've got, you can use a wheel. So all I'm going to do is push down the side there with my hand and cut it. And just cut each one to the shape and the size you're looking at, to be honest with you. In fact, I'm just going to take a little bit more off the side of there, to be honest with you. I'm not quite happy with that as it is. A little bit off that one. That's one done. Okay, and gently pick them up. I just put them on any sort of floured surface. So just on this occasion, I'm just using a wooden board. As you can see, they're not all the same shape, but you know, I'm not bothered if they're not all the same shape. It's fresh pasta. They don't have to look like they're manufactured. So they're all the same pieces, all the same sizes. They just look beautiful to me. And there we are. There's our homemade mushroom ravioli, all made. These are ready to be cooked, and I'm going to be serving these with a portobello and cream mushroom sauce. So now we're going to make our cream and portobello mushroom sauce. We have sliced portobello mushrooms, double cream, fresh chopped chives, fresh chopped garlic or minced garlic, and butter. So start by adding the butter to the medium heat pan. Just melt that down slightly, add the garlic. Don't want to cook the garlic for too long, like about 2 minutes, just to sweat the garlic off to bring out the flavours. So once the garlic starts to go a little bit golden, I can smell the flavour oozing out from it now. It absolutely smells beautiful. Next, I'm going to add the portobello mushrooms and saute them down. Now, when you fry mushrooms are about 80% water. They don't take a long time to cook, but you'll see first of all it'll start to fry, and then it'll start to actually boil with the mushrooms. And then once the water has evaporated, they'll start to fry once again. So that's the sort of sound we're waiting for. This is a bit, but it takes a little bit of time, this is. Just going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to that, just to help the process, just a small amount, not too much. I'm also going to add a small amount of ground salt, a little bit of freshly ground black pepper, As you can hear, they're starting to fry now. Just whilst they're frying now, I'm also going to, just to get the water ready for the pasta, so always cook plenty of pasta, or should I say cook pasta in plenty of water. My old chef used to say to me, you need to season it, but it has to taste like the sea. So you do use quite a lot of salt to season it, but don't worry, because you're actually going to be draining the water off when you strain the pasta. And to stop the pasta from sticking, I'm just going to put a small amount of olive oil in there again. Okay. Just going to taste that water to make sure. Yeah, that needs a little bit more salt in there. It needs to taste like the sea, to be honest with you. So quite salty. That should do it. So as you can see, the mushrooms have cooked down. The water's come out of them. Just going to add the double cream. Also, just going to boost the flavour notes for these by using some of our chef range. This is our mushroom concentrate. This has got shiitakes and oyster mushrooms in there. So just need a small amount of that, about a tablespoon, half a tablespoon. That's going to really bring the flavour of the portobello mushrooms out as well. So what I'm going to do now is just reduce that sauce down very, very slowly over a medium heat. So now the cream and mushroom sauce has reduced by nearly half. It's probably got about another sort of 3 or 4 minutes to go, but whilst that's reducing down, I'm actually just going to finish the pasta off. So in the water, as I mentioned earlier on, we have quite a lot of salt in there. I want it tasting a little bit more like the sea to get the flavour through to the pasta. We've also got a little bit of oil in there, and we're just going to pop those through. They're going to take about 3 minutes, minute and a half to 3 minutes, depending on the sort of size of your filling really. So we'll get all of those in there now. Bring that back to the simmer. You can see the sauce as well, it's actually starting to change colour now. You're getting the mushroom flavour coming through, but the gills on the mushroom, that's underneath of the mushroom, that's the underneath bits there. That's where you get the brown sauce coming through, so that's really giving it that lovely, lovely velvety mushroom colour as well. That's not too far away. I don't want a too thick sauce, it's only a small amount just to go over the pasta. Pasta's coming to the boil now. Always as well, once you have actually cooked your pasta, don't throw away your cooking liquid. You might need that just to slate your sauce down very, very, very slightly. So keep hold of your sauce, keep hold of your stock for that. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to serve this as a starter. So you can serve it as a main course or a starter, but for me personally, just going to use it a little entree, a small starter. So I'm just going to put about 2 to 3 pieces of ravioli in my dish. Serve it with a small amount of portobello mushroom sauce, a few portobello mushrooms sat on top of the pasta. I'm going to garnish it with a few toasted pine nuts. Excuse me, toasted pine nuts. Just fry them in a little pan, just over a low heat for about 5 minutes. Also a little bit of wild rocket and a touch of grated parmesan on top of that. So that's my mushroom sauce, more or less ready. That's the sort of viscosity that I want it. I'll just show you with a spoon. Just looking something like that. You also just check on the back of your spoon as well. as well. Sort of viscosity that I'm looking for. So now the pasta's been cooking for 3 minutes. I'm just going to use a slotted spoon to get it out and to drain it. Drain it on a little bit of fresh kitchen towel. As I mentioned before, always keep your liquor, your cooking liquor for your pasta, because you might need to just slate your sauce down a little bit. So these have been cooking for 3 minutes. Okay, so to plate up, I'm going to serve this as a starter. Of course, you can make it as a main course. Just going to literally lay the pasta down into my little presentation bowl. Maybe 2, maybe 3 pieces of pasta. I'm going to go with 3 pieces of pasta. Okay. Now the sauce. Just going to add some fresh chives to that. And to garnish up, I just want a few mushrooms. Some of the mushroom sauce, not too much. Maybe one little bit more there. Some toasted pine nuts, just gives a little bit of texture. Green on there, so a little bit of rocket. Just finish that with a small amount of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. So here we have your finished homemade mushroom ravioli with your portobello mushroom sauce.